Hello everyone, my name is Serafi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to be talking about Banlist predictions for the KC Cup just ended. So the KC Cup is now over. There were not too many interesting things that we learned from there because, I mean, the decks are just decks. Let's see. Do we know who won yet? No. No big deal. It's pretty obvious which decks are doing well, so let's talk about what could have been what could be changed moving forward. We have three tier 1 decks: Lyrilusk, Star Seraphs, and Borals. I think that everyone probably can agree that Star Seraph is the deck that's most likely to get changed because it's been around the longest, and the deck is probably the most standoutish in terms of power. Boral could absolutely get changed, so could Flor. The other decks that see play, we have Time Thieves, Sky Strikers, and Sacred Beasts. Of these, I think Sacred Beasts and Time Thieves are the least likely to get changed, primarily because there's not a lot you could do with Sacred Beasts, and Time Thieves are too new. So let's take a look and see what we can do here. Alright, so to start off with Star Seraphs, I mean, the deck is just ridiculous. The primary problem with Star Seraphs is their skill, and their skill's ability to multiple times get you just a free rank 4. The cards themselves aren't that bad. They do very well, and when you can basically use them as free materials, they become dangerous, especially since Scepter allows you to easily remove cards from the field. I've seen people suggest that Scepter and Scale should both be put to limit 3 to limit access to limit 3 cards from Star Seraphs. I don't think that's the play. I think that the skill is the issue. So I think that the best way to fix this is to make it so that the second effect of the Star Seraph skill, where you can play 1 Star Seraph monster from your deck and 1 from your field face down, is only once per duel. If you do that, then Star Seraphs become a lot less threatening and a lot less hard to deal with. I don't want to change the first effect where your Star Seraph monsters can attack twice. I think that's really good for the game, that it actually encourages a bad boss monster to see play going second. But I don't have any problems with the actual Star Seraph effects, like being able to pop a card, being able to draw extra cards. None of that seems like it's a real issue. Those are just the Star Seraph cards actually seeing play for the first time in a long time. So yeah, I would change the skill if they want to hit any of the cards. I guess they could put Scepter to 3, just so that people can't play Book of Eclipse with the deck. Book of Eclipse is... to be honest, Book of Eclipse is like a really good card. It's kind of weird how this card just doesn't really have any competition right now. You can't really compare Book of Eclipse, which is like an AoE instant speed threat that can also be played on turn 1, with anything else in the game. Like, Compulse doesn't do something like this, Crackdown doesn't do something like this. You could put Needle Sealing to 3 so that Needle Sealing can't be played in the same deck as Book of Eclipse, but I don't think that's enough. It may be that they actually have to put Book of Eclipse to 2 just so that people can't play 3 copies of Book of Eclipse, because it's just too good of a card. And that might be something that they do, not necessarily right now, but it's probably on their radar. This card is just really, really strong, and I think everyone knew that it was going to be really, really strong, so they all got 3 copies of it right away. And since it was a super rare instead of an ultra rare, it was not difficult for a lot of people to get 3 copies of it, which is shocking. But I do think that Konami kind of expected this, which is why they made it an SR instead of a UR. So they're probably going to be pretty strict with this card moving forward. Let's see. For Borals, Borals are doing really well as well. The deck is just, like, there's so many tech options that you can play in the deck. It's really funny to see a card like Hyozan Rue seeing play because of Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon and Levianeer. To be honest, unlimiting Melody was a mistake, and I don't see any benefit to Melody being at 3, or being unlimited. So Blue Eyes is no longer a meta contender. It hasn't been for a while. They can just go ahead and put Melody back to 3. And that will probably get the Levianeer Chaos package out of this. And then, of course, Silver Rocket being at 3 as well puts Melody in an awkward position because they already have Chaos Levianeer. I think that if you put Melody to 3 with the Silver Rocket Dragon and the Levianeer staying at 3, the deck would just stop playing it. You could potentially also just put Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon to 3 as well, just to kind of discourage this synergy of Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon, Chaos Dragon, Levianeer, and Melody, which literally only Boral plays. It's not like Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon is a card that really anyone cares about, so putting it at 3 wouldn't change anything. Really, though, if they want to change the skill, the main problem is that the Quad Boral Dragon is too free. I understand that Quad Boral Dragon does require you to discard a card to use its effect, so that's why they're saying that you don't have to pay anything else to make it. But the effect is really good, first of all, and discarding a card is not a problem for this deck, second of all. So they need to do something like potentially make it so that this card, make it so that if you want to get the Boral Link monster, you have to maybe return a card from your hand to the deck, or maybe they just remove the effect entirely. Maybe they just take the Link to Boral monster special summon just completely off the skill and just leave it as you can, reveal a level 7 or higher dragon and send 2 dragons from your deck to the graveyard. Because that alone is good enough, to be honest. I don't think that they should do anything with the other cards, though. Borreload, Riot Dragon, all the Rocket cards, Heavy Interlock, and Boral Sword, those are all cool cards. They are powerful, but the skill empowers them, but nothing feels unfair. So yeah, I think this is fine. Then for Sky Strikers aren't doing as well as everybody else, but they are still getting some tops. It's hard to tell what you would do with Sky Strikers, to be honest. This deck is very consistent, but I mean, Sky Striker Engage is at 3, so what could you really change? The deck doesn't run any other limit 3 cards. You could limit 3 another Sky Striker card, but if you do that, then people will just play Engage anyway because they can just search it. Engage is just too powerful of a card, to be honest. But you can't really put Engage at 2 because they have to leave Widow Anchor at 2. It depends on how much they want to really rein Sky Striker in. If they're done with Sky Striker being a good deck, then the option is simply to put Ray to 3. If you put Ray to 3, you leave Engage at 3, then the deck just tanks. And the deck becomes a lot worse, a lot less consistent, and then they're like, oh, well, you can just play Rose. Deal with it. That could be Konami's play right now, and Sky Striker players would just have to suffer. But I don't think that's their choice. I guess another thing they could potentially do if they wanted to be really extreme about it is they could put Area 0 to 1 so that you can't play Terraforming and you also can't play Rhoda. Because this card is essentially just a Rhoda. And it also does quite a bit more for the deck. If they put Airspace Area 0 to 1, then Sky Strikers would literally have a 3, a 2, and a 1, which puts them close to what Mech Knights were at when Mech Knights were terrifying and destroying the meta. And that might just be what they decide to do, because really Sky Striker is like a deck that no one really wants to see succeed except for the Sky Striker players. And the Sky Striker players have already spent the money, so who cares? It might be a little bit early, though. They might wait until after they release Kagari in a box to hit Sky Strikers, but they will hit Sky Strikers at some point, so just keep that in mind. Floor. Floor is a deck that everyone wants to see hit because they're sick of getting hit with Bishbalkan. Crimea River. I think that's hilarious. Bish Balkan isn't limit 1. Like, they can't play a limit 1 card. I don't know why you guys are complaining about getting Bish Balkan. That's funny. That's actually funny. And there's nothing that you guys, I mean, you can play skills that take the tokens off the board. You could play tribute summons and just enjoy your free tribute fodder. You could play link cards. You know, I get that you're having your entire board filled with tokens is annoying, but you can literally just Dark Hole. And yeah, the Bish Balkan will stay on the board, but the Bish Balkan will have 0 attack points. You get rid of all the tokens, that's fine. Like, I don't see any problems at all with this card being coming down on turn 1. So I don't have any issue. But as far as like the Votus and the Mech Knights and the Condemned Witch, I mean, this is just a deck that's been in the meta for a long time. It's been refined. People have been figuring out new ways to make the deck function. And the skill is just really solid. I don't see any issues at all. As far as how you could adjust the deck, I think that the only thing you can do is the skill. You can't limit any of these cards, because if you limit any of these cards, people just change the cards. They can come up with literally any way to make this deck playable. The only thing you could potentially do is put Société de Fleur to 3, because people have to play this card. So if you put this card to 3, then people will stop running so many limit 3s, but you could literally just play this deck with 3 Sages, 2 Cosmics, and 2 Cosmic Queens, and 1 Société de Fleur, and that would only take 1 limit 3 card out of your list. I guess you could put Société de Fleur to 1, but if you did that, like, you'd be admitting that the deck is just broken at that point. Like, because these are the cards you're supposed to play at 3 each. So if you literally make it so that you have to play some other 2900 attack spellcaster just to make sure that you can't Bish Balkan, you are admitting that the skill has failed you at that point, and you should just change the skill. So as far as the skill, the main problem with like changing the skill to synchro lock you is that Société de Fleur kind of wants you to Xyz summon. Like you what are the odds that your opponent's going to have a tuner monster in their graveyard, right? So special summoning a monster from your opponent's graveyard that can't attack and is destroyed during the end phase, it basically just wants you to Xyz summon with it. Granted, you can't always use Société de Fleur's effect, but you should be able to. It might still be that they have to accept that this skill is just too good. So yeah, I think the best way to fix this is to simply say that your extra deck can contain no monsters except synchro monsters. That would probably fix most of the problems with this deck, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's fine. Just make it so that the deck can only play synchro monsters, and you're done. Cool. Okay, then as far as Lyrilusk, the bird in the room, Lyrilusk is a powerful deck, a consistent deck, but it's still really new, and I honestly don't think it's that big a deal. What can you do about Lyrilusk, really? The best thing you could potentially do with Lyrilusk is put Cobalt Sparrow to 1. That would be probably the easiest thing to do. You put Cobalt Sparrow to 1, people can't play Ensemble Robin, and then you also can't get 2 Cobalt Sparrows out, which means that you can't make your entire board untargetable. That means that your opponent will have some failure point at some point. Now that will kill the deck, at least competitively. But who cares? The deck is good. It's good enough to win games with, and it doesn't need to be competitive. So yeah, I mean, you just make the deck less resilient, and you make it more predictable, more easy to play around. And if you make it so that there's only 1 copy of Cobalt Sparrow, everyone knows that, okay, this 1 copy of Cobalt Sparrow is what I remove. I can just remove this from the field. I can take control of it with Crackdown. Once this 1 copy of Cobalt Sparrow is out of play, then I know that I can make sure that my opponent's monsters can still be targeted. Even if they can't be destroyed, they can still be targeted. And that fixes all the problems. The main issue with that, of course, is that Ensemble Robin is limited to 1. If you wanted, you could potentially just unlimit Ensemble Robins. We only have 1 copy of it anyway. So yeah, you could just put Ensemble Robin to unlimited and put Cobalt Sparrow to 1 instead if you wanted to make sure the deck didn't die. Yeah, I think that's fine. That's probably the best way to fix this. Time Thieves are fine. Like, I can't even find like a top 2 here. The deck's cute. It's interesting. It's fun to play. But I don't think that it's good. Primarily because rank 4s are not that good. And then lastly, we have SAC Beast, which is just a brainless deck. I mean, who cares? If you are that upset about a deck that has just like a skill drain, because they can get so many monsters out on the board, just run more back row removal. I don't know what to tell you. This dies to MST. If you're not playing MST, that's your fault. You literally can't MST anything else. What are you going to do? MST the Skyfire or the Opening of the Spirit Gates or the Fallen Paradise? No. This is the only card that you can really MST, so you might as well. There you go. Alright. So those are my thoughts on the powerful decks in the meta right now. As far as unhits, what is the current Forbidden Limited list? This is the problem. Let's see. Finding the actual Forbidden Limited list is always annoying. Let's see. Okay. There we go. Alright, can any of these cards be unbanned? Cocytus, yes. Cocytus could come off. Everything else, no. All of these other cards are broken. I guess you could unlimit Lotus, but, I mean, they banned Lotus for a reason. Yeah, okay, so every other card can be can stay banned. I think Cocytus should come off at this point. Limited ones. These all look standard. All these cards are limited 1 for a good reason, except for Ensemble Robin. It doesn't compete with anything. Bomber Dragon. Unlimit this card. Bomber Dragon should be unlimited. No one plays it. Put it to 3. Let us have fun. You potentially unlimit Ixachel at this point. Like, what are Dark Lords doing, right? Dark Lords aren't that big a deal. Let's see. They should just ban Vengeful Servant. No reason for this card to be at 1. It does nothing except kill people. And if you don't want it to kill people, just take it out of the game. You can unban Chaos Form. Chaos Form does nothing. Blackluster Soldier's not that big of a deal. Don't bully Blue Eyes and Blackluster Soldier players anymore. Put this card to 3. Gagaga Revenge, I think, has been on the ban list long enough. I don't think that people would be too upset to see Utopia come back at full power. And, I mean, really, what's it going to do at this point? I think that Utopia isn't that dangerous anymore. So, yeah, you can put this at 3. It'd be fine. You can unlimit Overflow. Putting this card to 1 was a terrible idea. Just unlimit Overflow and unlimit Fusion. Cyber Dragons are not that good. Intruder Alert Yellow Art. Intruder Alarm Yellow Alert. This doesn't seem good at all. Why is this card in the... Nah. This card should be unlimited. What is this supposed to do? Yeah, everything else is fine. Everything else is good. Good ban list, Konami, for your limited cards. Limit 2s. There's barely any of these left. Let's see. You can unlimit Infernoids. Infernoids don't do anything. It's a fun deck. Let people play Infernoids again. It will literally only be Mechlord. But Mechlord deserves a chance to play Infernoids again. Concentrating Current can come off. This card's not good. If you win the game in the battle phase by just beating someone with another like big beater, good for you. Let let people play this in Malefics, I guess. I mean, people can just play this in Malefics anyway, and they don't. So if you're not playing this in Malefics, where your monsters are literally 4,000, 4,000, then people aren't going to play this at all. So just take it off. I do not understand why Gold Sark is still at 2. That's weird. I feel like Gold Sark should be at something, but not 2. You could put this at 1 maybe, or put it at 3, but 2 is just weird. I don't know what this competes with anymore. World Legacy's Memory can come off. Mechanites are not that good. Megaroid City, I still don't know why this card was ever put here, but take it off. Everything else is fine. Well, maybe not Brave Neos. Yeah, why is Brave Neos still on here? Like, what is this for? They unlimited Neos Fusion. It's weird this card is still on here. And Crimson Fox. These two. Brave Neos and Crimson Fox don't make sense. Take those off. Alright. Limit 3s. Kluger, Beatrice, Purple Nightfall, Armageddon Knight. These all look standard. Ibley. Emerald Bird doesn't need to be at 3 anymore. Like Lunalights are at full power and no one plays them. Just unlimit all of the Lunalight cards. They could probably unlimit Dragon Pit Magician at this point. I don't think Raging Pendulum would be that powerful if it came back at full power at this point. Xyz monsters, even like a Pop and a Negate, like we're past the point where a Pop and Negate are super powerful. And they can't run any back row, so yeah, I think the Dragon Pit Magician is fine. Why is Rapid Trigger at 3? When did Rapid Trigger go to 3? This is dumb. This card doesn't need to be at 3. Let's see. Pendulum Call can also come off. Transmodify can come off too. Let Infernoids be good. And everything else is fine. Okay, cool. Yeah. Solid ban list so far, Konami. Keep it up. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.